Thank you very much. I'm Marcel Robillard, President CEO of Puma Exploration, junior mining exploration company working in New Brunswick, Northern New Brunswick, Maritime, very high-grade gold at surface. Hello, Merlin.
Hello, Marcel. Thank you for the introduction. High-grade gold at surface, what's not to like? That's exactly what we want to be targeting. I always say that we need grade and we need scale. So I think you've demonstrated that there's plenty of grade here. So now let's talk about scale. I mean, what can you tell me about scale?
Yes, exactly. So basically, if I go back a bit in time, just to remind people, discovery hole was made in 2021, which we intersect about 5 grams over 50 meters right from surface. So when we're talking about grade, this is very high grade right from surface. 2022, last year, we did our major drilling program, the biggest one ever for Puma. We drilled 10,000 meters and 100 holes. So those was really shallow hole directed to locate at surface or close to surface those extension of the high-grade mineralization found by grab sample at surface, but also by shallow drilling. So last year, we drilled many grade holes, and now, this summer, we're going to target only the high-grade shoot of those, because after doing 10,000 meters of drilling, we have been able to interpret, make a 3D models of those high-grade shoot, gold shoot, and now the first 3,000 meters of program will be directed only to extend the Lynx gold zone from surface to about 200 meters. So we want to show in the 2023 work program, not just the extent at depth, but also along strike. Because since last year, we have discovered many additional lenses at surface, and we know that the Lynx gold zone can be followed over more than 3 kilometers additional than the 700 meters already confirmed at Lynx.
Okay, thank you. So Lynx you can see over 3 kilometers. When I look at your drill results, just kind of when I just glance through them, I noticed that there's some high grades and then there's some low grades and there's high grades and low grades. Are you saying that there's a lot of, am I right in interpreting that as a high degree of variability across the strike length? It pinches and swells.
It pinches and swell, but not just that, because there's some nugget effects. We know there's some very high grade, fine grain of gold, and there's also some little nugget in it. So for sure, when you hit the nugget, that's make a big difference on the grade. But the reality of it, when we have those high grade, they are kind of stacked veins. So we didn't know before the drilling how many veins they were stacked. And when we drilled the 5 grams over 50 meters, we intersect 3 of those. After putting that all together, then we see this makes some high-grade shoot to be followed. So it's not just one vein, there's multiple stacked veins, and the veins, that's where you carry gold in it. So all the gold are within the quartz vein. So now how many more stacked veins that we can drill? And those high-grade shoot are defined with the contact zone between the rhyolite and the sediment, but also within the foliation. So those open space, they make the place for vein, and they are extending. It's just because we don't know yet up to where, because it has been only early stage at surface drilling. So upside potential along strike, but also at depth. So it's a brand new drilling program, but only to target those high-grade shoot as possible.
So typically when I think of a high-grade shoot, it's normally the intersection of 2 planes or down a fold nose. But the way that you're describing the space creation for the veins makes me think of a structural zone. And is it the contact between you've got the rhyolite and the turbidites, the sediments, is that right? It's the sediments and the rhyolites, which is the favorable, that's where the structure has favorably located.
Exactly. And then you're totally right. It's always like 2 intersection of 2 lineaments. So this is the contact, which is dipping about 45 degrees. And then you have the foliation. Foliation is F1, which is the original foliation. Those 2 intercept make some pencil shape, like very high grade. And that shape is dipping only 35 degrees. So if we're talking about the potential open pit, would be perfect because they are not steep vein, but they are about 25 to 30 degree dipping system. But that can be 3 or 4, because what happens when the hot fluid's coming into the rhyolite is a lot harder than the sediment. So it breaks, it makes bigger space, and the gold fluids with the silice came into it, and then they can be trapped at the contact with the sediment. So this is about, a 50-meter zone, both sides of that contact, where we have those high-grade vein, and what we believe it's different stacked vein. And that program will be directed to drill those stacked vein. This is a theoretical model that we're going to follow.
And it sounds as if this really needs to kind of be thought of in a kind of a structural domain context. I mean, did you spend a lot of okay, you drilled 10,000 meters last year, so you've got a lot of geological data as well as assay data. So have you sucked all of the structural information out of the drilling that you've done, and how did you incorporate it, and who led that process, and what were the conclusions of that process?
Yes, for sure, we're not the structural expert. We have hired a consultant, which is Terran Geoscience, the same thing that they have done the structural study at the Marathon gold mine that they want to try to open up right now. So we have kind of big brothers that they have the same kind of geology, same kind of structural pattern. So we have been helped by Terran Geoscience. But you know what, Merlin? The best thing we have is access directly to the rock, because the stripping is really, really the best way to uncover the rock. So we don't use the drilling result, but most of the work is done directly on site with the 2 boots on ground, because we see the veins. So last year, when we drilled at 10,000 meters, we saw some veins, but the cleaning with the water and really a cleanup about all the surface rock were not done correctly. And now with the winter, the snow cleaned up a little bit more, we did more cleaning, and we saw those veins were dipping in probably another direction. So we're going to drill this year also those veins that they were dipping on the opposite side. So, structural is the base thing, but we have to be careful when you drill. And the beauty of what we have is we have access to the rock. So instead of trying to interpret only drill hole to drill hole, which is pretty difficult, we also try to drill directly, those shoot according to what we see directly at surface.
Sorry, I lost you for a second. So, sorry, you just said instead of interpreting drill hole to drill hole, you can actually interpolate from what you're seeing at the surface.
Exactly, and this is the best way. So you see directly the vein. You see the vein like probably extending for at least 50 meters long. So you use your compass as a real geologist and do real field work. But you see all those veins directly, and you can get the measurements directly there. So it's helped a lot. And, cleaning the zone, for sure, that's a bit more work. But then when you save on the exploration costs, and, this is the most expensive part of the exploration is drilling costs. So as you can never drill blind and have really always the 2 feet on ground, this is the biggest, upside that we have working on the Lynx also.
And how much overburden, how much soil, how much till is there to clear away? How do you to strip it? Do you use a bulldozer? Do you just use a high pressure hose? And what's the process of cleaning?
We use an excavator. Bulldozer are not used anymore because you can dig more. So this is an excavator. And then once the excavator removes most of the gravel, which is about 3 feet to 4 or 5 feet, when it's over 6 feet, it starts to be a little bit deep to manage all that dirt. So, between 3 and 4 or 5 feet, this is the best. We remove it and then we map. So pretty easy processing. Backhoe only, remove, make some piles, and then, we are cleaning up with a hose. So we're pretty close from a stream, which is about 100 meters. So far away enough to not have any trouble, with that stream, but close enough that we can use it to clean or use for drilling. So we need water in the exploration and also in the development. So we use our hoses and we just clean it up like this. But, the spring is a pretty good timing because the snow will do all the job for us, which is really cleaning up the ground for us.
Good. And so where are you in terms of the work program and capital and drill rigs and activities?
Perfect. So since beginning of May, we have a team on site. So we have 3 teams. What I'm calling about a team is a geologist and 1 technician makes a team. So since May, we have been doing some trenching to locate the drill hole location, getting the drill hole pattern. So now we're talking about $3 million in my treasury. I'm just having closing a private placement for $3 million. So we're fully funded for the 2022 ROAR program. And right now, the drill is coming on site, should be there the first week of July. So just after the Canada break, the long weekend of the Canada holiday, we have a drill on site, and we're going to have as well 2 more teams continuing the exploration and the prospection. Because 2023, what we want to proving up is not only 1 Lynx zone, but is to build a gold camp. Because we have 60,000 hectares there, so it's really like almost no work done. It's really at surface. So what we want to do is to put about 70% of the budget into the Lynx zone. Not Lynx itself, the 700 meters, but at depth and along strike, the 3-4 kilometers. And also do the met test that's should come within the next 2-3 weeks. We also have a bulk sample for 4,000 tons to get ready in the fall. And now we bring the drill to drill at least 6,000 meters. 3,000 just below the Lynx deposit, and another 3,000 meters to follow the strike length, about another 3 kilometers. So drilling will be started in July. We keep doing the exploration by trenching and stripping for the entire summer. And just to note, we're not impacted by any wildfire as a forest fire somewhere else in Quebec. So we can work. There's no stop. We can access the field and the forest. So pretty excited because now we have all the good data in hand, and we're just ready to drill with fully funded program.
A lot to unpack there. Let's go back to the metallurgical test work. So if you gathered samples that you're sending for analysis?
It's already been sent. We've sent about 12 drums, which contain about 7,000 pounds of rock. So we have already 7,000 pounds sent to the lab. And what we want to do is a recovery test, but mainly to see the recovery by gravity, because the preliminary test gave us up to 92% by gravity only, which would be a big upside, because if we don't use chemical, we don't use, cyanide, anything else, this is fast-track permitting, but also there's a better social acceptability of the project without any chemical. And these days, chemical into the mine itself, this is a high cost. Those chemicals are pretty costly. So if you can do it just by gravity, 7,000 pounds, 12 drums sent to the lab, and within the next 2 weeks or 3, we should get the assays back from it. That was the first step to get the phase 1 to see what would be the best recipe to produce the 4,000 ton bulk permit that we get already on site.
In that, are you doing a gold deportment study? Are you doing any petrographic work, or is it just a purely metallurgical test?
We do everything. I mean, it was more advanced. We do for sure gravity. We're doing as well the cyanide, which the leach, which we won't do it because it's part of it. We want to see the liberation size to see what would be the grain size. We do petrographic study. We do picture. We do everything to characterize the gold as much as we can. So far, we knew that it was nothing refractory. And also, we did some what we call the NAG-PAG study, which tell us if it's acid generating or not, and it's not. So, there's no sulfide, it's not acid generating, high-grade gold at surface, thick vein, great recovery by gravity. That is a dream. This is, a best place 2 kilometers from the road. This is all the best place to develop a mine right there.
And the 4,000 tons of a bulk sample, do you need a special permit for that? And have you already selected where you're going to take that from?
No, we don't need any other permit because we also already received it. So we have already in hand the permit to dig the 4,000 ton bulk sample. So we have it in hand. It took only 3 weeks. So just to give you an example how it's easy and nice to work in New Brunswick, 4,000 ton in 3 weeks, that's almost unbelievable. Then what we're planning now, that phase one was to see with the recovery test what was the recipe. So we should come within the next 2-3 weeks and then get a bigger test. So before doing the test itself, we want to do kind of a block model about the grade that we have and confirm, maybe 200-300 tons of that block, another 200-300 tons somewhere else. So we have the request, and we're working with Mr. Simon Domini. It's a PhD out from London, but is working now in Australia. And he's the expert on bulk sampling and make sure we don't miss it. Because, yes, we can have a big return, but if you don't do it properly, then you might lose some gold somewhere else and you don't know where it is. So it has to be taken really, really carefully. And that's why we, again, request somebody that is better than us, more experienced people in the bulk that we're going to drive us. So probably in the fall, we're going to decide if we're doing on site or we send it to another bigger lab or send it to a mine. We don't know yet. Will depend all the flow sheet developed in phase one and phase two that was going to be done during the summertime. But everything is there. We don't need anything else. We have the permit in hand to do what we want.
And it's not just about metallurgy. It's not about the process flow sheet. It will also help you with grade reconciliation between your model and your concept and the assay data you've got and the larger sample size.
Yes, exactly. Because, you saw our strategy was to get as much grab sample as we take. So grab sample is pretty selective, and, we know it's really, you cannot really lean on that. So then you have a drill hole. Drill hole is good, but you have only 2-3 inches. Then we do the drums. So the drums is about like 300 kilo each. And then we're going to do the 4,000 ton. So we try to look at every stage if it's all come into, the great reconciliation. And also when we drill, after, every time we mine it with the bulk sample and we compare that grades with the drilling holes, then we'll be able to help us on the resource estimate, which should come only in 2024-25. So we're not planning to do any resource estimate this summer. With 10,000 meters, for sure it's not enough. We have in-house the amount that we take. Now we want to reconciliate the met test, the bulk sample, and the new drill hole result. So that would be really exciting.
So you did 3,000 meters in 2021, 10,000 meters last year, and you're going to be doing 6,000 meters this year.
Yes, exactly. And maybe more, depends about the market, because what we know now, the 6,000 meters has been defined according to the budget we had, which was like $3 million. And then, if the market recovered a bit and we have a great success in this year, we might add it to maybe do about like 25 to 50,000 from 2024 and 26. But I won't finance that at 13 cents neither. So it's always a mix of getting enough money to do a real good job, which we have, but not over dilute to drill the same amount. So the beauty of what we have is at surface. So the 1,000 meters, we can do, let's say, 60 hole of 100. So that's a big difference.
Who participated in the capital raise? Because it's been a terrible market for raising money. Every dollar is difficult.
Yes. Most of it is people, existing shareholder. Most of them did private placement back when we were trading 50 cents. So in 2021, we did the private placement at 40 cents our dollars and 50 cents flow through. And since then, we drilled 10,000 meters, never any bad news, just de-risk and de-risk. So those people who thought there was a good deal at 50 cents, they get back again at 18.5 for the flow through and 16 for the hot dollars. So most of the people were previous shareholders that they want to keep supporting the company.
It's just tough, isn't it? This market is very strange. How do you cope with it in terms of philosophy? Do you just say we must have something that? Do you feel that this is something that you can just continue with because you believe in the quality?
Yes, no, for sure. Because I've been doing it for the last 20 years, so I've seen many cycles, and it's always the same. It's happened. then the market is better, gold market is better, exploration people are back, and also the investor. So to me, the most important thing in the junior company is what you have in the ground. So as long as you have good stuff in the ground and you don't kill it by doing too much work, everywhere, as long as you keep systematic work, you advance the property, then you're going to be good to keep doing for many years. So for sure, I always prefer to raise money at 50 cents than 16, but the market is back market. And as we do not have always to drill, then we always try to keep low-cost exploration. So paved road access, and then backhoe and trenching to find the best place to drill. And as never drilled blind, so when you have the 2 feet on the quartz vein, then you have better chance to hit something great. So to me, it's just a little bit sad, but we keep working hard on field, and we're going to be it's going to be a return sooner than later.
Talking about hitting something great, you pulled out a spectacular grab sample the other week, 288 grams per ton from a kind of a series of rock chips. Yeah.
A grab. Yeah. Exactly what we've done is, last year after the stripping, it's a nice job, and it's a little bit hard to really clean everything. So we did that apart, and this year, because we're waiting the drill to come, we decide to bring the backhoe and strip a little bit the extension of the veins, and then we find a brand new veins, and that vein grade like up to 288 grams, so almost 10 ounces of gold, just where we're supposed to drill. So we did a little bit more cleaning, and we saw the vein was dipping in opposite direction than what we thought. So sometimes drilling, because every investor asked me to drill, but you have to drill when you're ready to drill, and now we are ready to drill. So January, February, March used to be drill target. April, May, we did more cleaning to verify the top, and now July will be the time to drill and test our theory and, those prospects in front.
So you've identified a different orientation of mineralization. So how are you going to target that in drilling?
Oh, it's easy because, now we know the vein was dipping like my hand, and we were drilling this because all the other vein is dipping this way. So now, because it's dipping this way, we're going to just put the drill on the other side. So pretty easy. If we don't know, you need to try any kind of direction. But now, with all the measurement, we're pretty sure that the veins are dipping in the opposite. Because some are pretty steep, so it can be 70 degrees on one side and 70 degrees on the other side. So this is, the animal that we're chasing. So now we know that vein we're dipping on the other side. Doesn't mean that it's not pitch and swell. We don't know if it's pitch or not, but at least we have a brand new target to test. Very, very high grade zone.
I remember talking with a geologist on one project once. We were talking about how many holes do you need to drill before you know what is the optimal orientation and angle to drill your holes. It sounds as if you're not quite there yet. You're still finding out the optimum orientation. We once spoke about 40 holes needed, but you've obviously done a lot of shallow holes. If you had two planes which were kind of dipping at that angle or even at that angle, you could do vertical holes. But it sounds as if you are going to need to do some in one direction and some in the other direction. You almost kind of maintain two orientations for drilling just to make sure you don't miss any structures.
Exactly. The first work done by the structural company, Terran Geoscience, gave us 3 sets of veins. One was pretty sub-horizontal, the other one was dipping like steep, 75 degrees, and with gold, and some others was barren. So we try to get the best fit, and what we've done on the 10,000 meters, we intersect all those pretty nicely, but the only thing we don't know, are we missing some? And visually it seems that yes, we're missing some. So you're totally right. We have a preferable unit, preferable orientation for the drilling, but we're going to try a few others because we might have veins in some other direction. Because at the end of the day, as I said, it's a zone which is about 50 meters in the sediment, 50 meters in the rhyolite, that it goes deeper. Within that 100 meters, then you have different kind of veins. And you're right, we're going to know what it is once the mine will be mined 10 years after with a PhD student. So it's always, this is the trick. But at least, knowing and see the veins right from surface, it's easier to get back and say, oh, yeah, we'll drill it this way. Maybe it's going to be good. If it's all covered by overburden, you don't see anything, you don't even try again. Now, we know the vein is there, so we can try different orientation. And then, maybe 2-3 years from now, we have better orientation. But if there's vein in all directions, then you have to select the best 1 or 2 veins, but you won't be able to test everything at the same time. So sometimes, some other holes. And it's funny because last year, we did a stratigraphic hole. Stratigraphic used to be, to know the contact and all that. And it was really located, the contact with the sediment, rhyolite, and then the other sediment below. It was one of the best holes for gold, but it was not tried to be drilled for gold. So, gold, all those veins are different angles. So you do the best bet on the best structural and technical information you have, but then there's a part of luck. This is the beauty of gold exploration.
The beauty and the frustration. But let's talk about something which you can plan, but you may not be able to control. Ultimately, is the news flow for the rest of the year. How do you see your communication with the market? What are you looking to deliver?
It has been quiet within the winter time because the work done at the time was mainly compilation, writing the report, and get all the field season ready. Since about 2 weeks, we have started our news flow, and hopefully we'll be able to get out the news every 2 weeks or so, because now, as I said, last week was one of the first assays on the field. Field has started about 1st of May. So if we're talking about, let's say, 30 days, 45 days to get the first assays, now every week we should have some assays. For sure, it's not like assays for gold, very high-grade gold every 2 weeks. So, but once in a while, we're going to get out news. We have, for sure, the met test to come. We have the drill will be on site. Drilling started, more trenching and stripping. And we should have all news during the summertime to be probably the best timing in the fall, once we're going to have a big part of the drilling. Because if we're drilling the first week of July, we're going to see visually if there's VSG and not in it. So we'll be excited by visual observation. But the assays will only come on the drilling in August. But from now to August, we have plenty of news coming from the surface work that is already being started to get news out. So we hope to have news the entire summer and be, the best timing in the fall.
Good. Well, Marcel, thank you very much for the update, and good luck with the field program. And I look forward to catching up with you perhaps later when you've got some drill results.
Exactly. So let's talk in the fall. Would be the good timing, Merlin. Thanks, you.
Good.
Okay.
Well, thanks.
Bye.